Baron Schwartz, who is the CEO and CTO of VividCortex, and Kyle Redinger, who is the co-founder of VividCortex. Thank you both very much for being here.
Pleasure.
And Baron, you have a few talks here at Strata aimed towards a less enterprise audience. So what angle are you bringing in these talks?
Yeah, I actually talked with Ed Dumbill, the conference chair, about that previously before I submitted a talk proposal, and asked him what he wanted, what was sort of missing from the program. And the feedback that he gave me was that a lot of people were talking about and thinking about big data, but that it was perhaps becoming sort of the shiny object that people were playing with, a little bit of hype going on. And I said, well, that's great, because I like to turn big data into small data and try not to deal with big data unless I have to. So that's where the focus of my talks is on.
I know that handling data can be pretty costly when you factor everything in. Do you have any advice for smaller companies that really want to handle their data well, but don't have that enterprise budget?
Absolutely, yeah. Try and do it as cheaply as you can, especially for startups. I mean, cash is king, just like anything, and all of these other resources can be considered in the same way. You really want to spend your cash carefully. You want to spend your system resources and your time carefully. And so it's like the scaling advice, back in the 2005, 2008 era, when everybody was scaling and looking at how big properties like, let's say, Flickr and Tumblr and so forth were scaling. Those companies would send their people to conferences and say, don't scale until you have to, and that became also popular startup advice from the likes of Eric Ries and the lean startup movement and so forth. Don't start building for something, don't start building for a problem that you don't know that you have. So that's kind of my philosophy in general, is to try and do things on a small scale until it becomes obvious that doing something on a larger scale, in this case dealing with all of the data, if the rich data is really needed, I try and do things on a small scale and with sparse data at first.
And speaking of doing things for the company, and you're a company, co-founders of VividCortex, tell us something about your company, how it works with big data, the exciting things you're up to.
Well, we try to work with big data as little as possible, but unfortunately we're measuring lots of things, so we do have big data. On the business side, Kyle's really good at giving summaries of that, so I'll turn it over to Kyle.
Sure. So we are doing for the server tier what the application performance managers do for the application tier. Right, we provide workload-based analysis of performance issues and problems on servers, and we do that specifically in MySQL right now. So our end users and clients, they find value in our product as it reduces time to diagnose problems, reduces time to resolve problems, automates collection and capture of related metrics to faults, identifies stalls in systems. It's sort of all the things that you'd want to do in your servers to make sure that they're performing well.
So it came out of my background in Percona, leading MySQL performance and services and support consulting company, where I dealt with a lot of performance problems and helped people to find a practical method to approach them and analyze them. And I realized that a lot of that could be turned into tools. So that's what we're doing.
So if you're fixing problems, if you could fix one problem that's out there right now, any problem at all with data tools, what would it be?
It would be people's brains. But no, seriously. Actually, I think that there is an education problem. I think that we tend to get distracted by what's cool right now, and we tend to brute force things. So the problem that I think I would fix would be the overconsumption of data and the lack of critical thinking into how these various systems are actually processing data and what is the real model that underlies it all and how to work with that. So it would be an education solution.
Do you know how you'd start that?
With a conversation. I've always started that conversation with clients in a consulting basis. So I've always started the conversation by helping. I ask a lot of questions at first. That's how you start any conversation.
And that would be a great problem to solve. And thank you both very much for being here with us.